Hi everyone, my name is Julio Salgado and I am the co-creator of the Disruptors Fellowship. And with us today is one of our alumni. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you, Julio, for having me. It really means a lot being here. My name is Set Hernandez. I use they, them pronouns. She, her, he, him are also okay. I'm an alum of the Disruptors Fellowship cohort number 1. And I'm a filmmaker, a community organizer. I'm based here in the San Fernando Valley, here in Los Angeles County in California. Might as well give my whole address.
Put the whole CV
the whole thing. And I'm a filmmaker with the feature film Unseen, which is broadcasting and premiering on POV PBS on March 18th.
Yes. And before we get to talking about that amazing film that you just put out there into the world to just continue to speak on the issues that are affecting the undocumented community, before we get to that, we're gonna play a little game.
Love a game.
Do you like a game?
Love getting
played.
played.
It's gonna
not getting played, but yeah. I love
Sometimes it happens by accident. Sometimes you don't plan it and the girls get played. But anyways,
right.
We're gonna play a game called Hot or Not. Are you watching current films?
Oh my God, I wanna say yes, but I don't know.
And it's okay.
I'm kind of behind. Let's see.
Well, listen, it's okay if you don't. The game is Hot or Not.
Okay.
And if you want to say more about why yes or not,
Okay.
or hot or not, you can explain more. Okay, so I'm going to name some films currently out there in the world, and you say hot or not.
Sure.
And you want to say more about it, that's it. It's easy.
Okay.
It's not going to hurt. Okay, first film, Oppenheimer.
Oh, not. I'm not here. I'm kind of tired of narratives of white people about white people by white people. I don't know if it's kosher to say that. I might get canceled for saying this, but I'm just here for stories about people of color, and I feel like how come stories about the narratives of the nuclear war is centered around the people like Oppenheimer instead of people, for example, who are survivors of that whole situation. So less of Oppenheimer, more of Graves of the Fireflies.
Seth has thoughts. Okay, so we're moving. We're starting good. Killers of the Flower Moon.
Ooh, you know what? I love Lily Gladstone. Actually, when we were at the Spirit Awards, she was the one that gave us the award, and she's so sweet and kind. And for Lily Gladstone alone, yes.
Hot.
Everybody else, not.
Listen, Barbie.
Barbie, you know what? I was reticent to the idea of watching Barbie for a long time just because I feel like, I don't know, another big studio Barbie, getting the platform. I should probably watch Barbie first. I'm really behind, but I should probably give it a chance. I might like it.
I won't get my thoughts because it's not about me, but thank you. Okay, Saltburn.
Saltburn. You know what? Like I said about Oppenheimer, I'm just kind of tired of the same kinds of narratives that get uplifted all the time, affluent Europeans,
It was a remake. Come on.
I know.
Come on. Wasn't it a
Can we
remake
get
of
something
what is
else,
that
please?
Matt Damon movie?
I don't know.
Exactly, we don't know.
I don't know.
Because
I
we
don't
saw
care.
it too
I
much.
don't
Okay,
care.
moving on. American Fiction.
Ooh, American Fiction, yes. You know what? Again, when we were at the Spirit Awards, we kept on bumping into Jeffrey Wright. Of course, he wouldn't know me, but Jeffrey Wright was just
bumping into
he
people.
is so thoughtful and just brilliant. And Cord Jefferson, I'm just the artistry, and the critique that they provide without hammering it down on you in this very wild way. You know, it's just so. Yeah.
That movie, I should the other side.
Also, give the Oscars rundown here. I love it. Okay,
so,
yes. Yes.
Okay, last one. All of Us Strangers. Have you
All
seen
of
that?
Us Strangers. You know what? I just know it's queer.
It's very queer.
Yeah, very queer.
Yes.
I might cry. I haven't watched it because my heart's not ready yet.
I was not ready for that film. It's
definitely gonna be a yes.
Yeah.
Hot.
Okay.
Hot.
Cool. See, hot or not?
Easy peasy.
Easy
Okay,
peasy.
I was
All right.
nervous, and here I am.
See, relax. We love a little game.
I
We
love
a little
it,
game.
love it.
Okay, Sad. If you made a very incredible moving film, I saw it. I cried. I laughed. All the feelings. For the people who haven't seen your film, Unseen. What is the elevator pitch for that film?
For sure. Unseen is a film about desire and wanting something really bad, but because of the circumstances of your life, it takes you a while to get there. In essence, a coming of age film through the lens of my friend Pedro, who is an aspiring social worker as he navigates life being an undocumented and disabled immigrant.
So intersection, pretty much,
Intersection, yes,
for
yes, yes.
like various. What I heard you said about this film said is that it took you a minute to come up. People think that films just you can just make a film
If you have money, maybe.
if you had the money, perhaps if you had Salbar money.
There you go.
What was the process from day one to now?
Oh my God, yes. It took 7 years to
Okay.
make the film. We started filming in May 2016 when Barack Obama was still president.
Wow.
It's now another election cycle, so that gives you an idea of how long it took the film to be brought into the world. And I think when Pedro and I first started filming, there was kind of like no expectations. We just wanted to lift up his story. We thought it was going to be done in 2 years, but it ended up taking 6 years filming, 1 year editing, and then now we're in the 8th year, as we launch the film into the world. And I think that there's I don't want to be I don't want to come across that way, but maybe I am. There's like a level of masochism almost to what I'm about to say, but for me, I think I don't want to romanticize it.
Right.
But the amount of time it took, I think, is the perfect amount of time it had to take, because it allowed me to grow as a person, as a storyteller. And if I didn't grow as a person, I wouldn't have grown as a storyteller. And I am grateful that it ended up the way it was.
And it was really beautiful. Again, you approach the issue. A lot of the times we don't think about disability as being an immigrant issue, as disability does get erased from a lot of issues. But how was Pedro's? Was he, like, aside from being the main character?
Yeah.
Did he influence in the way that you approach
Yeah.
the issue of disability and being undocumented?
And I think, to what you're saying, Julio, like, so much of my entry point into making this film with Pedro is about an advocacy orientation, maybe in the beginning, because I have a background in community organizing. I used to do communications also. That was just like my bread and butter when I started filming with Pedro. But then I realized Pedro isn't really like that. He always says, like, I'm not an activist, like. And I feel like, how come the stories of undocumented people and the experience of disability often just gets relegated into, like, this political discourse instead of, like, a humanistic and, like, poetic, lyrical, conversation. And I think that's what we really sought out to do with Unseen. I would share cuts of the film with Pedro, which was a big part of our process. I'm a firm believer in working with people in a way that makes them feel like they have ownership and agency. Because after all, this is Pedro's life.
Yeah.
Like, who am I to leave him out of this process of how the world, in essence, gets to see him. So I feel like, for me, it was very important to have this collaborative ethos. And aside from that, we wanted to make sure that the film is not just about disability, immigration, but really about the humanity of
Sure.
that, but also the people behind the team. Something I'm very proud about with our film team is that we're a multiracial, multi-generational team of undocumented, disabled, queer, trans artists. Almost like if the Disruptors Fellowship was a thing and brought all of us together. Like, now it's in its 5th year, 4th year. Oh my God.
We're entering our 5th year, and I mean,
Low-key plug.
since you brought it up, let's talk about Disruptors. You were part of the first, 2020 cohort.
During the pandemic.
We
lockdown.
We started. We were all excited to meet in person, but then the pandy said,
There you
"No,
go.
ma'am, you're not going to
No,
do that."
ma'am. No, ma'am.
So, how would you mind sharing how the things that you took from Disruptors, did that have an influence and how you worked? Like, did we make it? Did we make a dent in your
Oh
life?
my God. No, I feel like, well, I want to say, Julio, like, when you said, like, did we make it? When you say we, I almost feel like Julio and the people that you've been working with for a long time. I would say the influence that the program that had on me started actually even years before the program even came about. You, Kat Ivasco, and all the folks that made this program a reality. Dreamers Adrift, for example. Like, I am here because there were other immigrant, undocumented, queer folks, who were like disrupting, not just disrupting, but like kind of like maybe even like messily adding chaos to like how
Chaotic.
the narrative, about our communities. Because like we're literally always just thought about as people who want citizenship.
Yeah.
Like people who are activists, and I'm like, sure, maybe some of us are that, but
Yeah.
I don't just want to be thought about as an, you know what I mean? Like,
And what I love, I mean, one of the reasons why we were so happy to have you in the program was because your own way of approaching the work was that of like, we are not just subjects, right? Like, can you talk about the work of being an advocate for undocumented filmmakers, not just being in front of the camera or crying, but actually creating the work? Like, talk more about that work that you did and how that has influenced where you are now in your career.
Oh my God.
You have a career. You're a filmmaker.
No.
She's a filmmaker career person.
No.
But talk about that. Like, how from going to being the subject of films to like, hey, no, we're gonna tell our own story.
And again, I just someone I met was telling me about this idea of citational politics, as in giving credit to whom credit is due. I received everything that you're kindly sharing with me, Mentor Julio, but I also want to lift you up, Tam Tran, Jesus Iñiguez, Nancy Mesa, Armando Ibanez, like all the folks that have made the work that someone like me is able to do, because. Beyonce was not built in a day. She wasn't.
Yeah.
She wasn't. But maybe Beyonce knows.
Yeah.
Actually, who knows? But I feel like for me, so much of what I felt was lacking was not so much. There's a lot of immigrant stories out there, right? But I think what's also critical is not just having immigrant and undocumented artists, but also thinking about undocumented people as primary audiences
Yes.
for film. Because often what I've come to realize about myself is when I make art, I use it as a way to make sense of my life. And to do that, I have to think of myself as the audience. And if I am gonna shapeshift my story for somebody else's consumption, then it's no longer really gonna be true to me. So I think for me, the work that I do as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, is always grounded in some kind of ethos. The unfortunate thing too is the reason it took so long to make Unseen is because undocumented artists are excluded from a lot of opportunities because of citizenship requirements. Yeah. I realized though that I was not the only one that was going through that. And also, people like you have been making it happen years before me. I also say that like he's my OG.
She's an elder. I am an elder.
I'm sorry.
I wear with pride.
Yes, I love it. A crown, yes, I love it. Crown of thorns.
Yeah.
I'm kidding.
No. But we definitely like one actually. You mentioned Kat Vasco. Shout out Kat Vasco, one of the co-creators of the Disruptors Fellowship, is the application process, right? Like applying for monies to get to any kind of program. Like the Social Security was always a sort of thing. But you've been advocating like take that away.
Yes.
Don't ask. Why? What do you need a social to make art?
And some tea actually. So as you know, we received an Independent Spirit Award, the Truer Than Fiction Award, and originally actually we were not eligible for that award because it's designed for citizenship, for citizen filmmakers, as in American citizen filmmakers. But in the process of the thing too that people should know about awards is like it doesn't just get handed to you. You actually apply. Yeah. You have to be eligible, like the Oscars, the Spirit Awards, the Golden Globes. You submit and then you get considered for them. And there's this whole machinery that kind of takes place. But for this award, we were not eligible originally. So not only to have been nominated, but to have received the award is really a testament to like the arbitrariness of why are these restrictions out here, and maybe also that's a whole critique of the award system to begin with, but that's for another
I
conversation.
mean, but in that, and I mean, again, yeah, sure, we, back in the day, we were, we're a little flip cams, we're making and telling our own stories, and I'm so happy, said that you're, I saw you receiving that award, and I was like, I wanted to cry. What, and in owning this sort of like time that we're in, where do you see this moment of like the future of undocumented folks who wanna do film, want to pick up a camera? Do you see a future, for them? Is it like you've break the doors, you've broken the doors? Like, what do you see for the future filmmakers? Let me rephrase that question. What would you tell an undocumented, young undocumented film, young or old? We're not ages here. Who wants to pick up a camera and they're like, but I don't have papers. What would you tell them?
I would say I think the most important thing I've ever learned is to find your people. Because I think that's what you did with Dreamers Adrift. You found your people. I remember one of my most favorite episodes of Dreamers Adrift, which I actually shared with other people too. There's this like, you all were in I think that 70s show. They were sitting in a circle and you're talking about your love lives. And the camera was just going around. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. Y'all found each other and you just were developing short films. Content. I don't want to use the word content because I feel like we're
making art.
You're making art.
We're making art.
Like it's not just content for consumption, but art for someone's healing. Because I found it when I was trying to make sense of love and documented what, and then here you all come. So I think the main thing that I want to tell somebody is find your people because no one can go through this journey by themselves. And I feel like the more we go forward with our journeys, I think it's also important to not go into our journeys by ourselves. We need to, the only way to the mountaintop is together, because it's scary out there, it's wild out there, but we're going to survive together, and that's the only way.
I love it. And thank you for those words. Amazing. You're a touring girl. You've been touring this film. You've been showing it. What has been some of the response from? You mentioned we are a big undocumented community. What if you can what are some of the things that are people coming to you and telling you, thank you because I thank you. I'm seeing what are you seeing?
My God, it's kind of that's probably the most moving experience of this whole journey. Like I said. Unseen, I have a primary audience in mind, which is undocumented people and disabled people, and especially people with vision loss, blind folks. And beyond that, we're also realizing because of the way we shape the story, people who don't even share those identities also get a lot from the film. So, for example, we were in a high school in Missoula, Montana. And, a lot of the folks that were in the class, weren't like the people here in this room right now, And I think what's also really resonant is how well they connected to the stories of the film. Because the film is about coming of age, it's about dealing with uncertainty, not having to be always expected to prove yourself. And so many people can relate to those things. It's just that with Unseen, it happens to be through the lens of having a disability and being undocumented, And I think when someone literally told us, like she went to the screening, she told me I came to the screening, I wanted to learn about somebody else's experience. Instead, I learned more about myself. I was like,
damn.
Wow, you got that from the film. That means a lot, So I think, and imagine, for example, my mom has watched the film. My family has watched the film too. Somebody from a community has also watched the film. And I feel like the way it has resonated to so many people in all these different ways really means a lot.
That's beautiful. And I, as an artist, getting that kind of response, somebody telling you I found myself.
Exactly.
I mean, you're telling me right now.
Oh my God! You making for example, the art that you've been making. It's not just undocumented people who relate to it.
Yeah.
I know because you have so many followers, and where's the agent? Yes, so.
Why filmmaking?
Why filmmaking? That is such a hot question. I love it. You know, I think maybe film. Actually, when I was younger, I wanted to be an animator.
Oh.
Yeah, but I couldn't draw, so I was like, let's abandon that plan. But I feel like maybe one thing that really comes up for me is like cinema. You know, is a way of remembering the world, you know, right now. Like there's this indigenous scholar, Linda Tohiwa Smith. She says, the remembering of a people relates not so much to the remembering of an idealized golden past, but rather a painful past and people's responses to that pain. I feel like cinema is an archive. We're here at Visual Communication City. They have this ginormous archive that's behind this wall. You know, and I feel like archives are a way, cinema as an archive is a way of remembering a way of life.
Yeah.
And if only certain people get to have the resources to make films, that means that in the future, people will only get to have one slice of a way of life from a whole generation or multiple generations now. Cinema's been around for over 100 years now. How can we as undocumented people, with the resources or not, ideally with the resources, and I think that's why the advocacy work we do is so important, but how can we reclaim a way to remember our way of life and not let it be erased? And I think for me, like that's really why I feel passionate about cinema, is because I don't want my way of life, the way I see the world, to be erased because of lack of resources only.
Give the resources to the girls.
To
Make
all of us.
sure
That's right.
That
That's
you know,
right.
because we have the stories to tell, and you know, there. It's funny that you mentioned, you know, it's been only one kind of story, right? And it's not about like stop giving other people resources, because that's what a lot of people think right now. You know, like I've gotten questions stuff like, oh, being a white person, it's no longer, you know, like I can't be a white person creating. It's like nobody's saying that.
No one's saying that.
We're saying
literally.
Everybody,
Exactly.
you know, should get to create.
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
that's amazing. So we're the Disruptors Fellowship. You know, what does it mean to be a disruptor in 2024?
Wow. You know, I'm Filipino, and Filipinos love Miss Universe and pageantry.
Oh.
There's always this Q&A portion where they ask all these juicy ass questions, and I'm like, I was born to be Miss Universe. Thank you all so much. Thank you for the questions. I love it. What does it mean to be a disruptor
in 2024?
In 2024.
You were a disruptor in 2020.
Oh my God.
A couple of years later,
She's
2024.
Still disrupting. Life disrupted. I love this. I feel like, you know, right now, in the world of film, the industry level, like there's so much chaos and doom and gloom about like the state of distribution, consolidation, you know, and I'm realizing that to be an artist disruptor, it's not just about the art that we create, but also the ecosystem that we are a part of where our art can thrive. Because I feel like as I learned more about how the film industry works this past year, I'm realizing, you know what, making film isn't just the only thing, you know, that I feel like I want to be involved in. I want to burn down this system that's only allowing. I feel like, you know, I don't know if anyone here watches Game of Thrones, but like I feel like Daenerys Targaryen, like I don't just want to break the wheel. I want to burn it all down. Oh no, she said I don't want to stop the wheel. I want to break the wheel.
Break the wheel.
And I will burn the wheel too, you know, unlike Daenerys. But you know, I feel like now is the time to really reimagine how we can survive and thrive in an ecosystem that is not profit driven by the streamers, by the corporations, and how can we lean on each other, you know, to really be able to create the work that we do. Because I think so much of the people that I've experienced also, like there's a lot of people, not everyone necessarily in my circles, but I've met a lot of people, or the way I feel like that the film ecosystem is created is that there's a narrative of what success looks like, you know? And it's like always feeding into these, you know, clout awards, bigger names. But I feel like how can we like reach our audiences in a way that's really organic, and how can we find a way to let go of these expectations and standards. Imagine, because all these standards are imagined. Like who said that this is the only way to success? That's true for you, but it's not true for me. And I feel like how can we? It's a way of thinking, and how can we reimagine that? And I feel like disrupting that mindset. I think that's where it all begins, and from there we can strategize and brainstorm to turn the disrupted ideas into disruptive new ways of being.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Miss Universe, I'm telling you.
Walk
my
the crown.
crown?
Walk the crown.
Where's my crown? Yes. Yes.
Said, where can people find your film?
People can find our film on pbs.org/POV. They can also go to unseen-film.com. They can also follow us at Watch Unseen Film, or follow me, Set Hernandez R, on Instagram. I don't have X or Twitter. I'm very low key on social media, but yes, pbs.org/POV, and then sooner than later you'll also be able to find it in your streaming station.
You got it. Thank you so much, Seth. Thank you to the space, Visual Communications, here in Little Tokyo. Thank you everyone here who made this happen. Our sound, our directors, our producers. And thank you for watching this. And please continue to support all the artists and watch Unseen on pbs.org.
.org/POV.
/POV. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you, Julio.